So the third one is sending to the customer. In other words, an order has been placed, Amazon shipped it, customer never received. Right? What
So
happens in that?
this is one claim where we don't really focus on because it's between Amazon and the customer relationship, meaning they use their own carrier, they have their own service level agreement. So technically, some things we think about. If Amazon said they're going to deliver it to you in 1 day or 2 days on my behalf as an FBA seller and they don't, I'm kind of getting screwed, right? Because they told you my product's going to get to you in 2 days and it didn't. So we've been experimenting a bit with these, what we call last mile claims. Hey, you said the iPad was going to get to Nick in 2 days, but it took a week. That makes me look bad. That makes him want to return it. That's not fair. Now, this is a very hard claim to prove because A, in their service level, as you know, they do their best to get it out, but it's really hard for them to promise a date. And the language on that promise is vague as far as audit. So again, if they're supposed to ship you a $10,000 order for your business and it doesn't come for like a year, like those they'll pay. But to audit the onesies, it involves getting documentation from the client that it actually came a certain day and pictures and photos, which is similar to removals, meaning all these claims that involve a lot of data inputs from end users, and you're selling thousands of units, it's not scalable. So if we
Yeah.
have a big one or a few big ones, or technology gets better, or they open up more APIs, great. I think it's a huge area of opportunity. As you know, there's companies that audit UPS and FedEx on service level, meaning UPS said, I have an agreement. Everything's gonna. I'm a bank. I'm a law firm. Everything's gonna get to the client overnight. It needs to, or in 2 days to a court. But I'm a huge firm, and I looked at my million shipments, and 400 of them took 3 days. Why am I paying you for that? And you violated the agreement. Obviously, they have leeway. There was a whole industry where people would audit FedEx and UPS for service level.
Right.
With the advancement of logistics and e-commerce and COVID, the carrier said we're not responsible for service level. We can't be. So if you think about it, and they took away that audit process, you can negotiate fees and whatnot, or we charged you a fuel surcharge for going to some suburb out of district and we shouldn't have.
Right.
They don't want to deal with that because it's just not scalable. But for Amazon, ironically, we don't touch that. We just touch inbound fees, this, that. That actual service level, which we'll get to hopefully, is super hard to quantify. You could argue it's a bigger opportunity. So what I would say is, if there's material cases on your customer support queue where there's shipments that are a certain amount, you could spend the time and we could show you kind of how to do it and help you. But it's not something that we do actively, and I've never really seen a scalable process for it. So
Yeah.
I'm being honest about what we do, what we don't do, what we can't do, what we want to do.
Yeah. Well,
So but that process is kind of a black box.
Yeah. For the listener's benefit, I mean, the most common situation, especially these days, is customer places an order and Amazon ships it, and the customer tracking shows it's delivered, and customer says, I never received. This does happen. If it does happen, first of all, as an FBA seller, you should never have anything to do with losses like that, because it's between the customer and Amazon. And if the customer contacts you as a seller and says, I never received it, you simply take it up with Amazon, and Amazon will ship another one or do whatever it takes for them.
Never credit the customer if it's an FBA. Let them handle it, or else you wind up double debiting. Exactly. And it's a disaster.
And the other thing that may happen is customer may file a negative feedback, a seller feedback. And when you see that, immediately you must request for that to be removed. And simply, that's not your problem as a seller, but it's an FBA item, and Amazon should remove that and then let Amazon deal with that issue.
Right.
Now, this leads to my other one, which is it's almost like back from the customer. In other words, customer sends it back, but and you get debited, but the inventory never arrives. So in this scenario where the customer says they never received it and Amazon ships another one, that's coming out of your inventory, right?
Yeah. So this is, again, we were exploring it. It's very hard to scale, but presumably if they ship one of my products to you and you say you never got it, obviously they'll investigate or they'll open up with a carrier. Maybe it was stolen. Maybe someone just stole it from someone's porch, like you see is became a thing, unfortunately. But if it really was lost, yes, they'll ship another one. If they shipped another one because they proved it was lost, technically they should only debit the seller one unit, not two, right? Because they're
Yes.
responsible. But again, to audit that and show what happened and why involves customer level data, like a picture from the recipient, for example, or a manifest from the Amazon truck, which we're working on, but it's very, very tedious. So sure, there's loss of 1 or 2% like there is everywhere, but there's no scalable way to claim it. Even onesies, like even if you and I sat down now and tried to win a claim on that, we wouldn't, because they keep a barrier between the customer. And again, it's something I think we'll get to, but it's quite challenging.
Yeah.